Welcome to Sunday morning. Glad you're here tuning in. If you're live with us right now, that's awesome. I'm glad you're here. If you're watching at a later date, I'm also glad you're here. No one's better than another person in that way. So just glad that you're here to hang out and talk with me. You'll see the background's different right now. The offices at Oakwood have been closed, and so we have to do all our work from home. So you'll get videos from my house from now, or for the time being anyways, until we're able to go back to the office. So you can see the game cabinet behind me of all the board games that Nicole and I we get to play and hang out and do. So it's a good time. But maybe I'll move around the house in the future. You can see different parts of the house as we do different videos. So if you're on right now, if it's like 10:30ish when this video premiered and you're on YouTube, there's a live chat button that you can press that will put you into a chat area where everyone else who's watching the video is there typing out what their thoughts are, or commenting on the video, or making fun of Myles as he talks. And you can get on there and join that conversation. I will also be in that conversation chatting with you guys too. So feel free to jump in there. It only lasts from the time the video starts until the video ends. And so if you're watching this video after the video premieres, that live chat function is not available anymore, but you can still leave comments on the video, and I will get back to those comments. I'll type back, I'll get back to you, answer questions, all that stuff. So please feel free to do that. Love to have your responses there. It's good to hear from you guys, because I don't get to hear from you guys that often anymore. And so just to see what you guys are up to and talk a little bit about what's going on is great. So jump in that live chat if you can. And if you're watching a later time, leave some comments. I'd love to hear what's going on in your lives right now. I got a couple announcements for you before we get started, and then we're going to jump into our topic for today. So like I said last week, all of our stuff that's happening at church right now is all to be determined. It's just because we can't meet together in person, and we like to do things in person at Oakwood, so that stuff's just been changed. So let me fill you in a little bit on what we know. The first one is that the Good Friday experience that was on April 10th is still going to happen, but it's not going to be at the church. It's going to be digital. Josh Larson and Becky Terrell have been working real hard to put all of that on film so that you can watch it. Actually, it wouldn't be on film. That's an old term. We don't use film anymore. It would be on, I don't know, storage? I don't know what it would be, but it's going to be on camera, and they will put up the resources for you when it's ready for April 10th, and you can watch and experience the Good Friday experience from your house. So we'd love to have you be a part of that. I'll get you more information as I get it. It should be ready, though, for April 10th for you to partake in and do. On that same note, Easter is being done differently this year as well. There isn't Easter services at Oakwood this year for coronavirus stuff, but Becky Terrell's been working on making church-to-go boxes, which are like church in a box. She makes up all the stuff for it, so how you can do church at home. It's Easter themed, and she's going to make them up and leave them outside the church doors so that you can come drive by and pick them up and do church at home on Easter. So if you want one, you should give her a email or give her a call so that she knows that you need one, because then she'll make enough for you. I think she's working on it right now, or she is very soon. So I would call her up so that she knows, so that she can make one for you. That'd be really cool. On a really sad note, the Nerf war that we had planned for April 17th is postponed. It's not going to happen on the 17th. It's going to happen as soon as we can get back together. I will schedule a date, and we're going to do the Nerf war. It's going to happen. Don't worry. It's okay. It just isn't going to happen in April. And so if you haven't picked up a Nerf gun yet, you should do that. I would love to have you bring your Nerf guns with you. Actually, the day before the offices closed, I got a package in the mail from Amazon of 600 glow-in-the-dark Nerf darts. I really want to use them. They're just sitting there waiting to be used. And so it's like, if that's not confirmation enough that it's going to happen, it's going to happen. The darts are sitting on my table. Also, in my office, I ordered with that is a book that I didn't get to bring home, so hopefully I can make it back to the office in time to read a little bit of that. But it's a Nerf gun modification handbook. And it kind of shows you how to make darts fly farther and add more pressure to your guns and stuff like that. And it sounds really cool. So I've got those there. We're going to do Nerf wars. It's going to happen. So be ready for when it does. Have your gun ready to go. I'll get you information as soon as I know when it's going to happen, and we'll go from there. But for the April 17th date, it's postponed from there to another time. And lastly, for announcements, is if you haven't hopped on Discord yet, you should do that. Discord's kind of like Skype and Zoom calls and Facebook, sort of. They're not great examples, but they're kind of all meshed together. Discord's like It's a server that we have where people can jump on there and they can write messages and respond to messages anytime. So think of like text messaging, but with a whole group of people, not just with one person. So you can get on there, you can leave messages for everybody. I'm in there every day and I moderate what's going on. So if things are, I make sure things are going how they should be going on there. But I also check in with you guys, and you can leave messages for me, and I respond to them. Like even this week, I put out a challenge to the guys on Discord to make breakfast for their family and post a picture of what the breakfast they made was. We all agreed that we're going to make eggs for our family this week. And so whenever they made eggs, they're going to put a picture up on Discord. And Oliver was the first person to put up a picture. He did it the very next day and made eggs for his family and posted the picture, and they looked real tasty. So congratulations, Oliver, on being the first one there on making eggs for everybody. And the challenges are still out there, but we're going to use Discord to stay in touch in that way and to pass messages, be praying for each other, and encourage each other through that. But it's also a way for us to do some online games together. I have these things called Jackbox games, which you can connect and play on your phone, but you need a screen in order to see the game board. And Discord lets me share my screen with you so that you can connect on there and play the game through your phone or through a tablet or something, but you just need to be able to see the screen. So Discord's really good for that. If you can jump on, even if it's just to do the game times, that would be awesome. I'm hoping to do Jackbox games on Wednesday nights since we don't have youth group anymore. Our Wednesday nights instead are going to turn into like do a game of Jackbox or two, get some time to pray for each other and with each other, and then just catch up and encourage each other. I'll get you details this week. Our first Wednesday is actually April 1st, which is, for me, it's 7 days because today's Wednesday. But you're watching the video on Sunday, so today's actually Sunday. That is timelines. It's goofy. But so 1 week from me right now is our first one, but 3 days from you right now is our first Wednesday night thing. And I'll send out the link to your family so that you can jump on Discord and share screen with me so we can play games. I'm also toying with maybe using Zoom instead to do the same thing. The only issue with Zoom is that you can't connect all the time with people to leave messages. That's why I've kind of avoided it, but we might use Zoom to do games with. So I'll let you know as we get closer and we'll move forward on that. But it's going to be a cool time. But I encourage you to check out Discord with your family. Jump on there, leave messages, be praying for each other, and stay connected on Discord. All right, that's enough announcements for now. We're going to get into our topic. I have a big script thing written out so I don't forget anything about what I want to talk about with the topic. So forgive me if I'm doing some reading right from my script. I just don't want to forget. I'll do my best, though, to break up the monotony of me. Monotony. Monotony. There we go. Monotony. Everyone say it with me. Monotony. Of me just talking. I'll share some stories and stuff like that as we go, but it's a little bit different when you're not in front of me. I'm doing this by myself, so that interaction I'm missing, and so it's hard for me to gauge if you're tracking with me or not. So I got to read my script, make sure I stay on track, and then I'll share stories as we go. So like I said before, we're online again this week, obviously, because you're here watching a video of me. I'll show you my house as we go around in different weeks, and I'll pick different spots to do the video. It'll be a good time there. Last week we finished our talk on dating and talked about the question, why is dating awkward? If you haven't seen that video yet, I will put the link for the YouTube video of that topic in the description of this video. You just scroll down a little bit and hit the show more button, and it'll like expand a thing, and you'll see a link for YouTube on there. You can watch that from last week. It was a good time. There's a lot of people who were in the live chat during that, and we talked through the whole thing, and it was awesome. This week we're going to start our topic on apologetics. Apologetics is a fancy word. It's a big word, but it basically means having a full understanding of what you believe or having a defense when people ask questions about what you believe. When we talk about others, when we talk with others about our faith, there we go. They may not know anything about Jesus, or even worse, they may be very against Jesus and the church. And when these people ask questions or condemn us for what we believe, we need to know with certainty what we believe and have a reason why. Have you ever had a conversation with a friend who's making an argument against something but doesn't exactly even know why they disagree with that thing? Actually, our current situation with coronavirus is a really good example of this. There's lots of people who are really scared, obviously, who are frustrated. So many are upset, and many are uncertain with what's going to happen or what's even happening right now with it all. You can comb through discussions over Facebook or between politicians and see that people are constantly arguing about what's going on. And the issue is that nobody really knows exactly what's going on with coronavirus. It's new territory for us, right? We've never had this before. We're finding new things every day about how we combat it and how we make things better. But the information slowly coming out, but people are making big assumptions and claims and truths about it without actually having all the facts, right? And as we go, people will start to believe all sorts of things about the source of coronavirus, what the cure is, how it spreads, or whether it's even real or not. And there's a whole bunch of more ways, right? But those are just a few ideas of what people do with this one topic. And believe me, those topics those angles on the topic that I just brought up, I know people on every side of those who are arguing from those sides, and it's just interesting to see how it's going. Ooh, if you listen, you can hear the fire department's going by. There it goes. Sorry. Sometimes I wonder if I'm like a little dog and I get distracted by what's going on. Like, squirrel. Yeah. Anyways, so with coronavirus, there's some people who are concerned about its source, its cure, how it spreads, and whether it's even real or not. They're making all these claims about those things and don't actually know the truth about it. And lots of us don't. 90% of us probably don't even know, right? If you ask the people in the middle of these arguments, if you ask them more questions about what they believe and why they believe them, more than likely, over half of them aren't going to even know or have an answer of why. It's probably just stuff that they heard other people say, or it's something that they read on a website somewhere, or something that they chose not to get involved with at all, and they just came up with their own truth behind what's happening. And really, apologetics coronavirus and Christianity link in that way when it comes to apologetics, because there are people who don't know anything about Christianity. Instead, they listen to other people and go with what their thoughts are on Christianity, just say, well, they said it, so that's true, right? Or they read something on a website and they just assumed that website was giving truth, and so they just believed whatever the website said. Or they chose not to interact with Christianity at all, and they just made their own claims about what Christians are or what they do or what they believe, and don't actually have the facts, right, or the evidence. They don't have the real reasons why or what Christians are. So apologetics helps us to know what we believe and why we believe it, and how we know for sure that it's true. It lets us have our beliefs figured out, so that when we're questioned about those things, we can give an answer to others with logical truth and facts, not just our own opinions and no evidence to back it up. When I was in youth group, my youth pastor did a lot, and when I mean a lot, I mean really a ton of talks on apologetics. When I was in 7th grade, that's when I became a Christian. I had been going to a church when I was younger, but never really seriously going to church. I was just going to visit my grandma, basically. And I was a troublemaker when I was a kid. I got kicked out of Sunday school, and Tuesday school is what they called it then, because it happened on Tuesday. Like every week, I was always kicked out, and I just didn't care. I wasn't there to get to know all the Bible stories and understand all that stuff. I was there to hang out with grandma. But in 7th grade, I started going to youth group regularly, and my youth pastor was a big deal to me when I was a young person. He spent a lot of time talking with me outside of youth group about questions that I had, and we would talk a lot on apologetics during youth group. And maybe he felt like he was on the fence when I would ask him questions, but I wasn't asking him questions because I was upset or against Christianity, as I just didn't know. I honestly had no idea what Christians were like or what they did, and so I asked him a lot of questions, and he had to have a lot of answers for me. So we talk a lot about apologetics and how it applied to everyday lives, because he had a student, at least one, me, asking him about all that stuff all the time. One thing that I believed, actually, this is a good example. One thing I believed when I was in youth group as a new Christian was that it only mattered how you acted and talked when you were at Wednesday or at Sunday programming. That you were a Christian Wednesday and Sunday when you were at church, but outside of church, it didn't matter. You could do whatever you wanted to. And that was a belief that I came up with on my own. I just thought that's how it was. But until I got to the source and went to the Bible and asked my youth pastor about it and found out that Christianity is about everyday life, right? It's that Colossians verse. Whatever you do it all for the glory of God as an ambassador of Christ, right? That's something that we have to do every day. And so when I got to the source and found out what the real truth was, it changed how I believed. It changed what I thought my beliefs were for a good thing, in the right way. So apologetics give us a way to frame our beliefs and understand what we believe and why we believe them. So my youth pastor, we talked about apologetics specifically on things like worldview. We talked about evolution and creation. We talked about whether God was even real or not. If the whole story of Jesus was that a real story? Was Jesus a real person, or was it all a lie? Was it something that somebody made up? Right? We talked about those questions and lots more outside of that, but those are a few examples. And honestly, right now, if you ask me what the answer to those are on the spot, I would say, well, let me go look. Right? I don't have them all right here, right now, but I know where to get them, and I've got a whole bunch of information stored away from them from those conversations. But one thing I do remember my youth pastor talking about every week, all the time when it came to apologetics, was the verse 1 Peter 3, verses 15 and 16. I don't have any cards with it written down or anything. Maybe I should have done that. I should, next time when I have verses, I'll try to remember to write them down. You guys know my handwriting's terrible, though, so you probably wouldn't be able to read it anyways. But you can look up 1 Peter chapter 3, verses 15 and 16 on your own, but I'll read them out loud for you, and just listen in, because this verse is like key when it comes to apologetics. It says this: "Instead, you must worship Christ as Lord of your life, and if someone asks you about your hope as a believer, always be ready to explain it. But do this in a gentle and respectful way. Keep your conscience clear. Then if people speak against you, they'll be ashamed when they see what a good life you've lived because you belong to Christ." Let me read it one more time just so you don't miss anything. Like I said, this verse is so key. I don't want you to miss any words in it. So 1 Peter 3, 15 and 16 says this: "Instead, you must worship Christ as Lord of your life. And if someone asks you about your hope as a believer, always be ready to explain it. But do this in a gentle and respectful way. Keep your conscience clear. Then if people speak against you, they will be ashamed when they see what a good life you've lived because you belong to Christ." This verse is awesome because it tells us what we need. It tells us that we need to be ready to answer for the things that we believe. We know that people aren't always going to agree with us, and it's always unwise. Not always. It's also unwise to have not thought through the reasons why you believe what you do and the evidence for it. One point about this passage I really like a lot is it says this phrase: "Do this in a gentle and respectful way." When you get into these tough conversations, it's very important to be respectful of others' thoughts and opinions, and remember that the person you're talking to is a human being made in the image of God. We can still disagree with each other and work through untruth, but we do this while maintaining the dignity of others. Right? Remember that that person is a real person. They have feelings. And when you say things about them or bash their beliefs or anything like that, you're putting them down. And yes, you may be right in what you're saying, but it doesn't make how you're saying it right. Right? You want to have the discussion with them and work through those misunderstandings and untruths, but you do it in a way that's beneficial, not beneficial, that's the wrong word. That's gracious, respectful, and kind to the person you're talking to, right? Beneficial could play in there, but I'm not saying you butter someone up, right? You know what I mean when I say butter someone up, right? Where you just like say every good thing about them, even though you don't honestly believe it and you don't think that they're actually that. You just make them feel good about themselves so that they'll feel good about you. That's buttering someone up. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is that you need to be respectful with how you speak to them and what you, like how you call them names. Don't call them names. Call them by their name, right? Don't call the people names. Don't throw out untrue things just to be mean. Don't be hurtful, right? Use facts and there's another verse, I wish I had it off the top of my head now. But we speak the truth and we speak in truth and grace, right? That we want to be truthful, use the right things to say, but not as a brick wall to smack against people, but we use grace, right, and love, right? And so that we can mix those things together and be honest and respectful at the same time. I love that phrase in 1 Peter 3, 15 and 16. Hey, the other day, I got to talk with a few really important people in my life. Because we're at home working, I put out actually, this is a really great reason why I love Discord. My friends and I got Discord a long time ago, but we use it pretty frequently. And I put out a message to them that said, hey, I know you're all working from home because of our new way of life. If you're at home and you're just like sick of being alone, just jump on Discord and I'll be there and we can just chat. We can work together, but we can like work at the same time. But we can talk to each other and have some interaction going on at the same time. And two people did that with me this last week, a couple days ago. My brother Tanner, so I'm the oldest, Tanner's the next brother down, and then Chase is the next brother, and then Cheyenne's my sister. So my brother Tanner, who's a couple years younger than me, he's been like my best friend and support to me through basically everything. My most of my life, he and I have been like joined at the hip. We're just really good buds. He and I went to the same youth group together as young people, and we heard from the same youth pastor on the same topics. We did a lot with apologetics with people that we knew as well as with our family over the years. So I've always kind of known, actually I've known for sure, that he's had some really good thoughts and ideas about apologetics in his back pocket. So I got to talk with him this week. I also got to talk with another person named James, who was a kid in my youth group when I lived in Minnesota 7 years ago. When I lived in Austin, Minnesota, I ran a youth group at a church, and James was one of the youth group kids who came. He was in high school when I met him. He's in his 20s now, though, and he and I have had a lot of time together since we met because we did youth group. We did a lot in youth group. We did a lot outside of youth group as well. And specifically with that, he always needed rides home after Sunday and Wednesday programming. And I was happy to drive him home. So I drove him home every single Wednesday and Sunday pretty much. But he lived like 20 minutes away. And so we had a lot of time in the car to talk and get to know each other. And because of that, because of how well I've gotten to know James, I've invited him to come hang out with my friends and my family. And we still play video games and chat over Discord recently pretty frequently. Over the years, it's kind of been in and out. But it's awesome to have a student from my youth group in Minnesota be a regular part of my life and talk. And so I got to talk with Tanner. I got to talk with James the last couple of days. And I asked them what were some of the thoughts about apologetics that they had, because we all have talked apologetics together in this way. And here's a few words that they had to say that I want to share with you. So James said that one thing to keep in mind with apologetics is that it's not for us to always jump into conversations or debates about the defense of our faith. Sometimes debates are going to be traps or are already very heated and will turn into name-calling and mudslinging. And when these kinds of conversations come up, most times it's better just to stay out of them and not get caught up in the name-calling and mudslinging ourselves, but to keep the peace instead. He agrees that arguing about faith topics doesn't help anyone. Instead, it shows others that Christians are no different than anyone else. It's that phrase in 1 Peter 3:15 and 16. It's to have those conversations with gentleness and respect. It's not to be name-calling and mudslinging, but you can have the conversation, and those conversations, we got to have them. They're good. But we do so out of respect for other people and gentleness, not just to name-call and get heated and have those hard conversations to be mean to other people. My brother Tanner, he said this about apologetics. He said that apologetics and many other things are more than just the words that you use. We can say a whole lot of things, but if we don't practice what we preach, we aren't going to have any weight behind what we say. Tanner talked about how nobody will listen to us if we treat another person like garbage with our actions or our words. He said that people generally remember how you make them feel, not necessarily the specific words that you say. That's not always true, right? But people, when you talk to them, they want to feel good talking with you, or they won't talk to you anymore. So they'll remember how you feel when you're with them more than the specific words that you'll mention. Our actions speak louder than words, and integrity is a big thing. So if we tell someone that we love them, but we treat them like garbage, are we really loving them, right? Our words say one thing, but our actions say something else. They don't mix, and our actions speak louder than those words do. All of this reminds me of the end of 1 Peter 3:15 and 16, which says, when those who question you about your faith shame you, they'll actually see what a good life that you live is, and they'll feel shame themselves because you belong to Christ, right? They're seeing how well you treat them and how you make them feel, that they can't just like badmouth you in it, because they'll feel terrible themselves doing that, right? Does that make sense, right? When we talk with people, we want to act and talk in ways that Christians do. Even in the things that we have arguments or disagreements on, we want to treat them with gentleness and respect, because when we do that, other people are going to feel like, wow, why is this guy treating me so nice when we disagree on so much, right? Okay, so that's actually how we're going to end our talk on apologetics, on those ideas. And the reason why is 1 Peter 3:15 and 16 is so important for apologetics that for me to introduce more topic on top of this, you'd miss that verse. I really want you to grab hold of 3:15 and 16 of 1 Peter and understand that having a defense for your faith is really good, and you should have one, and know why you believe what you believe and what you believe is. And then when you have that understood, when you get in discussions with other people, you have to do so out of love for that person, gentleness and respect. Right? Not because you want to be right. It's not to win the argument. You do it because you love that person and you want to have that right. You want them to know that you care about them, because you should. That's a Christian thought there too. So we're going to end on those thoughts, but I do want to issue you a few challenges over this week, and really take these challenges to heart, because you've got some extra time at home, and so you've got some time to do some things. So here's some things for you to think about and do. The first challenge is think through some apologetic topics that you'd like to talk about for next week. Some examples of these include like creation and evolution, was Jesus really a real person, etc. There's a whole bunch of them. If there's things that you're thinking about, like, man, I wish I knew more about this, and I wish I had a better understanding for my own, thought processes, I'd be happy to answer some of those questions for a little bit. Just leave your ideas in Discord, or you can leave them as comments in this video, or you can have your parents leave them like in Facebook messages to me and stuff like that. I'll do some combing through all of that and get some ideas for you for next week. Secondly, another challenge is to think through what you believe and why you believe them over this week. If you're not sure why, go looking. Why do you believe those things and you don't know? Well, then I'd start digging, right? The Bible is full of reasons why we believe what we believe. And there are many other sources out there that aren't the Bible that confirm those beliefs. Ask lots of questions, see for yourself what the answers are, and then get a better understanding of what you believe. And to add to this, if you don't know what you believe or why you believe it, it's really, really good to ask yourself those questions and think through it. You don't want to be like the person that's talked about in Ephesians chapter 4, verses 14 and 15, which says this: "Then we will no longer be infants, tossed back and forth by the waves and blown here and there by every wind of teaching and by the cunning and craftiness of people in their deceitful scheming. Instead, speaking the truth in love, we will grow to become in every respect the mature body of him who is the head, that is Christ." When we get to think through what we believe and why we believe them, we're not infants tossed by waves of teaching, right? Or that we're not swayed by people's scheming to make us think something else. We know what we believe and why, and we're firm in it. And so then we become mature, and then we can speak the truth in love to other people about what we believe. So take that challenge, think through what it is you believe or what you say you believe is, and then ask yourself why. Why do I believe that thing? And lastly, the last challenge is, we've talked a lot over this year about how we should look to the interests of others before our own. Apologetics plays into this when it comes to how we make others feel. Remember that in any squabble, I love the word squabble, in any squabble or discussion with another person, we should treat them well, with respect and gentleness. So over this week, as you interact with your family, don't forget to keep their interests in mind in how you treat them. And that finishes everything off the apologetics for this week. Like I said, ask questions, leave them in the comments. Be happy to get back to you on them. I'm really looking forward to being with you guys again soon. I hope it happens like way sooner than we all think it is, that we can be in the same room and talk together and ask questions in like live formats and all that. That would be awesome. So we will talk very soon. Feel free to message me and let me know how you're doing. I'd love to be praying for you guys over this time. And I am in the ways that I know, but if there's specific ways, let me know what those are, okay? So y'all have a great day, and we'll talk to you later.